I think when you're early in your coaching career, you kind of pick a side because it's safe. You know it every day. But when you get to a certain level of teaching, you have to understand multiple ways to teach because players have multiple ways in which they need to move.
At the field, in your car, or on your couch, get your Fastpitch info from the coach's mouth. Welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast with your hosts, Jay Bolden and Ken Krause.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast. I'm Ken Krause, here with my buddy Jay Bolden. Jay, how you doing today?
Good, Ken. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I actually became a grandfather again this morning. 12:50 this morning, my latest grandson was born. Jensen, happy to hear that everybody was all healthy and all that. Took a while to come out, but he finally greeted the world, so I'm all excited about that.
Awesome. Congratulations to you, your family. It's awesome, man. So I just have to have a question. How many grandchildren do you have, and how many of them are girls?
Okay, I have 4 grandchildren, and only one is a girl. She was the oldest one, and her name is Reagan. She's going to be turning 4 in May, so not quite ready on the softball side yet, but she is starting to throw some things around, so we're looking forward.
I was going to say, that was my next question, is when do the pitching lessons start for her? So awesome. Good stuff, man.
Well, should we get ourselves rolling here? We've got an important guest today, and I want to keep him waiting.
Absolutely. Let's make sure we get into this one. This is going to be one fun episode today. I hope people are ready, and I hope people are listening. Go ahead, Ken. Give them some intro.
All right. Strap yourselves in, folks, because our guest today has a very broad and exciting relationship with Fastpitch softball. He's a former assistant coach with the USSSA Pride and contributed to their championship season in 2010 in the old National Pro Fastpitch League. And he also spent 6 years on the coaching staff at Ramapo College of New Jersey. He's also acted as director of softball operations for Nakona Baseball Factory and a brand strategy consultant for Sports 195, among other positions. Additionally, he consulted with the San Diego Padres, Seattle Mariners, and Team Venezuela on player development. But his real passion is helping individuals reach their highest level of performance. He builds himself as a master teacher and human development specialist with an emphasis on hitting, visual acuity, mental and emotional skills, and technology. He's the author of 2 books, Complete Game, The Emotional Dynamics of In-Game Focus, and Swag 101, both of which go beyond hitting mechanics to help players unlock their true potential at the plate. And he's a sought-after speaker and clinician who is presented to audiences at the National Fastpitch Coaches Association Convention and World Softball Convention. His primary job, however, is owner and CEO of Complete Game, which offers live and remote training to players, as well as an education program and certification in the company's methods for coaches. In addition, he hosts the Transcending Sports podcast, a great podcast, by the way, which you should all subscribe to, which features guests from all across the world of athletics. With all that going on, we're both surprised and thankful he was able to find a few minutes to squeeze us in. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rob Cruz to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast.
What's up? What's up? How's it going, guys?
Great, Rob. How are you?
I'm all right. Ken, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, becoming a grandfather?
Yep.
Again.
Yeah. So it took me a second there. I was wondering what I was being congratulated for, but yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah. Awesome, Rob. Well, again, like Ken said, we're so thankful for you to be joining us today, giving us a little bit of your time, man. We appreciate it. Both Ken and I are absolute big fans of what you're doing. Love watching your reels, what you're talking, how you're doing things there with kids. So what I want to do, just to get us started here, Rob, if you can you give us a little bit of background in how you got your start with Fastpitch? Did you start, primarily you were a baseball guy, then you moved into Fastpitch, or was it just Fastpitch like right away out of the gate for you? Give us a little bit of your journey, like how this all got started for you and where you got to today.
Yeah, so I'm a baseball. I consider myself to be a baseball purist. Like Cooperstown, I cry in Cooperstown. Like I'm that guy.
Okay.
Like when I was a kid, I was heavily into baseball cards. I followed, growing up in Southern New York in Westchester County, Shea Stadium and where the Mets played, and Yankee Stadium wasn't far, a couple of train stops away, or a 10-minute, 15-minute drive, depending upon which who you're going to go see. And it was exciting, growing up. I'm like stickball. I'm from bricks, so we like concrete. So we had buildings and we had spray paint boxes on the walls, and if we could find a broomstick and a ball somewhere, a tennis ball somewhere, then we got a game going. So that's where I got a lot of my at bats. As a player, I had a lot of at bats, and I you got to be able to pitch and stickball, and it's competitive, that's my like big those were my humble baseball beginnings. The first time I ever swung a bat, we found a broken wooden bat in the garbage that somebody threw away, and we took it out of the garbage can, taped it up, and we were just hitting cans. We were hitting like soda cans off the ground, like we were playing golf and hitting, just that was what we did, just kids out there. This is back when kids went outside to play.
Right.
Yeah.
and you had to be creative. You had to turn a parking lot into a baseball diamond with some pizza boxes for bases. So I've always had to be creative, and my creativity that I grew up with spilled over into what is now what I do. I'm still creative to this day. But yeah, I'm definitely baseball. I didn't even really get into softball till kind of later. And
what brought you into softball?
Yeah, so I was teaching in a facility, the facility that I eventually became the owner of. But at the time, I wasn't the owner of it yet. And a guy comes in and he goes, "Yeah, I have a softball team. We want to bring them in twice a week." And they were like 10U. They were like, I guess it was an organization. It was a 10U team and there was a 12U team. And nobody wanted to work with the girls. Like none of the baseball guys wanted to work with the girls. Now everybody wants to work with the girls because it's popular now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But back then, the guys didn't want to work with the girls. They were like, nah, no way. I'm not doing it. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do it. And then I did it. We didn't even have any softballs, by the way. We didn't even have softballs. So we trained them with baseballs, actually trained them with baseballs.
Huh. Now, was this back in the days when everybody thought that the baseball swing and the softball swing were different?
Yeah, so that's what happened. So we were coming from a biomechanics point of view, and this was back when biomechanics people got laughed at. Mm. They got teased. Biomechanics? What are you talking about? See ball, hit ball. I mean, it was like you couldn't even what's biomechanics? So we were teaching the correct way to move, and movement doesn't have a gender. It's like you move a certain way or you don't. This is efficient and this is not. So for me, it was like, why would girls have to hit different? And I mean, I got a lot of, which I didn't care. To this day, I don't care what anybody thinks about what I'm doing. As long as I believe in what I'm doing, I'm good. But back then, it was like they were doing that swing where you kind of like turn your top hand over and your bat hits you in the arm.
Yeah, yeah.
Really hard.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the popular swing. So in order for me to be able to get, it's funny, I thought about this later. In order for me to get the young ladies to stop rolling the top hand over and hitting themselves in the back or the shoulder, I had to teach top hand release. Okay. I had to teach top hand release. It was the only way I can do it. So the top hand release became a signature of that's the Rob Cruz swing. That wasn't what I was going for, but that's what actually happened.
Yeah.
So anytime somebody saw a hitter hitting, and we're talking 98, 99, 2001 and 2 and 3 maybe. So anytime anybody saw any hitters out there hitting with the top hand off, like, oh, that's Rob Cruz swing. That's Rob Cruz swing. Umpires were like, you go to Rob Cruz. It was just like it became a branding signature during the MySpace era when there really was no way to kind of brand it. There was no real true social media in the palm of your hand, but on the fields across the countries, and girls were hitting home runs in a sport where home runs wasn't really prevalent,
right?
At that time, it was like 3-0, 2-1, 11 strikeouts.
A lot of slap hitters back then.
A lot of bunts, a lot of slapping, a lot of bunts, a lot of short games. So it was definitely for us in the Northeast, where I was in Southern New York and the surrounding areas, it was something that I feel like it kind of helped and push the game a little bit more forward for us in the Northeast, because we were always behind the rest of the country.
Yeah, well, I think back in those days, everybody was behind like California and Arizona.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit here, Rob, about, you give us a good description of your background, how you got into it. Mm-hmm. As you start getting into this more and more, you're starting to work with more fast pitch players, you know, and even before that, even some of your baseball, who did you kind of lean on a little bit? Like Ken and I have some really good mentors that we lean on, some of which you already know. You know, who were you leaning on back in the day to maybe help you a little bit, maybe a mentor or somebody that helped you, and how did they kind of influence you or even challenge you back then when you first got rolling in fast pitch?
So I got my start with probably the organization that really started indoor training, and that company is called Frozen Ropes. Mm-hmm. I was Anthony Abatini, who is the CEO, founder of Frozen Ropes. He's probably one of the smartest dudes I ever met. Like, this guy really understood and understands, he's still doing it, I think, how to really communicate was what I learned, because it went beyond what we know. It's really what you can effectively communicate. And he was able to, with his law background and his DA, district attorney, courtroom background, I feel like he was a master communicator, and he understood the power of words and how to say the words and the teaching cues and to match with the science. Like, he understood that. And what made me effective is learning that skill / technique and kind of mastering it, and I think that because for me, it became more about, how can I effectively communicate this? And then how can I continue as the game continues to evolve and the game continues to get pushed forward, how can I change my terminology to match what this kid here needs to hear, so that it resonates with her and she can see my words. She can see the words, not just hear them, but see the words. And that was probably the most important thing that I learned during that time.
So it's really trying to tailor the coaching to what the individual could understand or accept, rather than kind of the cookie cutter approach that so many people like to take. Yeah,
well, I think most people, and still to this day, most people are they understand what they should be coaching, but they don't understand how they should be coaching it. That's the big disconnect that we're having now, currently, even still. Like, it's easy to know what to coach,
yeah,
but it's very difficult to know how to coach that effectively. And that's where the true gift and talent, in coaching comes from, I believe, because you got a generation. Remember, you have a generation of players and athletes who don't really work as hard as they did 10 years ago. So now we have to be exceptionally better, because they're not going to go home and spend 2 more hours on it like they did back in the day.
And if I can add to that too, Rob, and they don't communicate like we did 10 years ago either. They're too busy with their noses buried in front of their screens. And
I was just about to say that. Yeah. Like, they have other things that they're into.
Yeah.
And not to blame them, that's just what it is.
Yeah, it's the reality.
So now the challenge comes back to us as coaches. We have to be even that much better because of that, and that much more skillful in the art of communication.
So let's talk a little bit about your coaching background. You've done all that work. You in the cages with the fast pitch kids for a while, even base. I'm sure you were still doing baseball at that time as well too.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of some of your coaching experiences, like maybe even share a story about how it was coaching in the NPF, and at the college level as well too, like highs and lows, if you don't mind. People always think coaching at that level is always sunshine and rainbows, and usually it's the opposite of that, or it's a struggle. So if you don't mind, share a story with us about coaching the NPF and even at the college level.
So first and foremost, I'm a clinician first. My love is for teaching, and I'm a true clinician. If you put me on a field with 30 players, that's easy for me, because that's my background. I'm a clinician, and I know how to manage multiple players and manage multiple stations and get everybody going and everybody's doing everything the right way and keeping it moving. So I'm a clinician first, teacher first. I'm a player development person first and foremost. And then after that, it's I enjoy the game. Before I even got to that, I coached baseball. I took a 10U team all the way to 18U before I even got into like coaching a softball team. I had never coached a softball team. I was just, a clinician. But so I took a baseball team from 10U to 18U. And that was like my funnest times. I had some really good baseball teams that were like 3 draft picks, 4 draft picks, coming off the teams, guys going to college, guys getting drafted later. So that was fun for me, developing infielders, developing outfielders, teaching them the game, base running, throwing, and all those things. When I ended up, I'll tell you the story of how I started coaching in the NPF. I was sitting on my couch. I'll never forget it. I was sitting on my couch. And this is probably after I went in and did some consulting. I went in and worked with the University of Florida's team during Tim Walton's first year.
Oh, wow.
When Tim got the job at Florida, one of my players, her name is Allie Gardner. And it's funny because Allie Gardner was on that 10U team that came in to hit when she was 9. That I told you about? She was on that team, actually. So fast forward, she goes to Florida. She transfers from UNC Wilmington to Florida. And then, me and Tim had developed a relationship, but just kind of back and forth, sharing information and knowledge. We got close. And I get a text. Hey, you want to coach a team? I'm like, no, because I was not down to coach a team. I really wasn't. That wasn't my thing. I didn't want to really want to be on the dirt like that. And then he goes, no, really, a real team. Because I was thinking he was thinking a college team. I was like, I am not coaching a college team. There's no way. There's no way I'm not doing it. So I just value my freedom. I just value my freedom. So that's just me. So it ended up being the USSSA Pride. And this was the first year in 2010 that the NPF allowed the USA players to actually play pro. So they can kind of honor both commitments. And USSSA, our GM, Don DiDonatis, who was the chairman, at that time, the chairman of the board for USSSA Sports, put together a really good coaching staff. It was actually Tim, myself, Beth Tarina, who at the time, this is before LSU, at the time, she was at Florida International. And then Renee Gillespie was also on that staff. And at the time, she was the UCF head coach at UCF. And we were using UCF fields and stuff, as like a practice and game field, as well as Disney World was also a home field. So that's kind of how I ended up getting the hitting coach job. But even prior to that year, I'm just thinking of it now. Prior to me getting the USSSA hitting coach job, Mickey Dean was the head coach at Chicago Bandits the year before that. And he offered me a position to come be the hitting coach in Chicago with the Bandits. And we just couldn't make it work in terms of like what the salary they were going to offer. I was like, well, I just can't just leave. I got to make sure that what you're paying me, I can still like pay my bills and,
I got to be able to eat.
I got to be able to like, things have to get paid for. I'm just not just this guy living out of a bag, So so we weren't able to work it out because I don't think Chicago was able to do the number. And then when it came down to the Pride, they had a little more resources. They just told me to name my price. So it came down to the bag, it just came down to the bag, and the bag was better. Otherwise, I probably would have did the year before with Chicago.
So that's cool. So you were with them for the year then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We won that natty. It was interesting because there was some interesting dynamics because you had the pro athletes and then you had the USA athletes. And sometimes the USA athletes were gone because they had a USA commitment. And we only had like 12, 13 players who were just the pro players, but they weren't USA, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And then the USA players would show up and it would be like this there was a little bit of conflict. There was a little bit of a conflict in that. And I think we had enough talent to kind of work through it because I felt bad when I knew that I had a player who wasn't a USA player, who clearly was more skillful and better than a USA player, yet sat because the USA players had the popularity.
Right.
And they brought the fans and the people bought their jerseys because of the USA thing. Yet clearly this girl's just way better. But it was like it's a business. It's also the business of sports. Mm-hmm. Right. And for me, it was hard for me to like even, like, how do I face the girls? Like, they know that I know, and I know that they know that I know.
Yeah.
It was that was a struggle for me because I'm just like, sometimes I could be a little bit too real. And I was like, well, why is she batting cleanup? She freaking sucks. Like, she freaking strikes out all the time. Why is she batting cleanup? Because that's where the GM wants her.
Right. That's what's going to sell tickets.
So it's like, I mean, they'll tell you, I walked out of meetings on batting lineup. Like, I'm out. I don't want to be in here.
Oh, really?
That's just the facts. Yeah, that's just facts. That's just, and this is the thing when you're doing it at that level. Like, that's not, I was who I am.
So how were those players to work with? I mean, was it different than, I mean, obviously it's going to be different than working with a bunch of 10-year-olds.
So,
I mean, were they coachable? Were they interested, or did they kind of have their own ways?
So because I was a fan of softball and a student of softball, I kind of knew and had followed and watched a lot of the hitters in college. So when we got them, I knew, oh, I've watched so many of her bats. Like, I know what her swing is. So I felt like my thing was like, if you get away from what I know that you do, let's get you back to what you do. Not so much of like, I need to teach you how to hit.
Yeah.
You could already hit. But, sometimes players are different. Some players need feedback. Some players need in-game feedback. Some players, are cage type of hitters. Some players come for early BP, and it's just, we're just talking hitting. Some players come to, everybody's different in how they want to interact and engage. And Tim and I both did hitting, so we had two hitting coaches. So it was good to have two perspectives on maybe it's approach, maybe it's game plan, maybe it's mechanical thing. Like, let's talk through that. Let's talk through the open stance. Let's talk through getting the foot down. Let's talk through how we're going to approach Monica Abbott today when we got to play the Tennessee Diamonds. Let's talk through how we got to play Jenny Finch. We got to play the Bandits. Let's talk how we going to go up. What are we going to try to do, like, here, right? So there was so many great pitchers. Megan Gibson on Tennessee Diamonds. It was just like, and it was just every night was like, we got to face her. It's like, if we get string a couple of hits together, you're lucky, So that was the fun part, like trying to figure it out every day and work hard. We had girls who their role was like, okay, I'm a pinch hitter. I'm probably going to get one pitch every night that I can hit. One pitch. And if I foul that pitch back, that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm working really hard because my role is to get that one pitch hit every game. And in that pitch hit, I'm only going to get that one pitch. That one pitch. A little different.
Yep. I know that you talk a lot about the mental game and, your books and all of that really are focused more in that area. So do you think of yourself more as a hitting coach who talks about the mental game, or are you more of a mental game coach who happens to specialize in hitting?
I'm a coach that doesn't separate the two because they're all one. How can you talk about hitting without talking about the mental game? How can you talk about hitting without talking about the visual game?
Mm-hmm.
They're one. They're not three separate things. It's not vision and then mental and then the swing. Yet, if you went on social media and just looked at all the people who only talk about the hitting, you would think that that's all it takes. If your swing is good, you're going to hit. No. At that level, it's about eyeballs.
Uh-huh.
If you don't got eyeballs, none of that stuff matters.
Right.
I don't care how good of a mover you are. I don't care how great your mechanics are. If you don't have, and MLB, I mean, if you don't have 2015 vision or better, you cannot play MLB. And I would venture to say that if you don't have 2015 vision or better, you can't hit in the SEC.
Mm-hmm. Is that
so that vision and eyeballs transcends swing. So I like talking about the 80%. I call it the 80%. Hitting is 80% mental, visual, and cognitive, 20% physical. So why would I talk too much about the 20%? Or why would I separate that from the 20%? It just doesn't make sense. To me, it doesn't make sense.
Right. Is that 2015 vision, is that something you can train, or is it you're either born with it or you don't?
I think you can improve. And I'm really big into visual mechanics and vision training. We can improve just things that we can improve vision, and I'll get to that. But like with 2015, everybody thinks that 2020 is it. Oh, I have 2020 vision. Okay. That means that you have functional vision. You can go shopping. You can drive. You can find stuff in a store. Oh, that's a red purse. Oh, that's a green shirt. That's functional. That's functional vision, right? I can read the signs, on the highway. But performance vision and functional vision are not the same. especially high level performance vision, like shooting 3-pointers. Like Caitlin Clark's vision has to be crazy to be able to shoot as far away as she shoots. Steph Curry's vision has to be crazy to be able to shoot as far away as he shoots. Larry Bird's vision had to be crazy because when he shot, his ball didn't even hit the rim. It was all net. He never even hit the rim.
Mm-hmm.
You know how good your eyes have to be to hit a ball at the highest level with late break and great movement and the talent that a lot of these pitchers have to be able to like understand timing and contact depth and barrel angles for different locations. That's visual. So if I have 20/20 vision, that means from 20 feet away, I can see as just as well as 20% of the population. If I have 20/18 vision, from 20 feet away, I can see better than 18% of the population. And if 2015, it keeps just going down. I think the best vision that was ever recorded in human history was probably, they said it was a Australian Aborigine who had 2013 vision. I don't think this person was an athlete though.
Yeah.
But imagine though, that's incredible. So in terms of like teaching vision, that is something that I've always chased hard. And I've always tried to find out, okay, what are the hockey goalies doing for training vision? What are the NASCAR drivers doing to train vision? What are the fighter pilots doing to train vision? How does the eyes work? Why do we even have eyes as humans? What are eyes for? You know, and then when we play sports, in what part of the process do the eyes fit into the hitting timeline? Mm-hmm. And how does that affect how we come up with our 20% swing? Right. So those are the things that I outlined and studied really hard and really chased. And I'm kind of when I went in to work with Florida at that time, when I worked with Tim, when I went in to work with LSU, when I went in to work with Stanford, when John Rittman was there, I went in and worked with Stanford. I went out and worked with Pacific University with Brian Colsey on vision and Auburn. So they brought me in to do vision. It was usually something that was specific. Mm-hmm. You know, even working in professional baseball, a lot of it was consulting, players and batters on visual techniques and visual strategies, pitch recognition and decision making, and improving those things. And because if you can improve it by a hundredth of a second, that's 10 inches. That's 10 inches of flight time on a 65-mile-an-hour fastball. If just a hundredth of a second, 10 inches of flight time.
Yeah,
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Huge. That's a big deal, and there's little things that we hone in on, and we teach on just the mechanics of vision and the mechanics of the eyes and the mechanics of the body and how the mechanics of the body enhance vision. Sometimes it's not just about the camera. Sometimes it's about the tripod.
Yeah.
So the body becomes the tripod. So if I can't fix the eye because I'm not a surgeon,
right?
Maybe there's things that the body can do better to enhance how the eyes that you are born with can be a little bit better. So those are the things that we've been doing.
I was going to say, I think I just saw a reel this morning pop up on my feed that you were working with a kid talking about a rise ball and getting her just a little bit more upright with her head.
With the posture.
Yeah. I thought, again, great stuff as always, Rob. That's why excited you're joining us. This is all great stuff. I hope people that are listening are taking some notes and jotting some things down. If you don't mind, can you get into that mental game a little bit as well, too? You talked about the vision part of it. Can you get into the mental before we start getting into a little bit of the mechanical stuff?
So I like to call it the mental emotional game. I combine the two words like ice cream and jumbo shrimp and peanut butter.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. Like, so the mental emotional part of it, because I don't like to think of the mental game and there's so many aspects of the mental game, right? You got, what type of a learner am I? And is the teacher that's teaching me the way that I learn best? Mm-hmm. Did that teacher even take the time to try to find out how I learn best? Right. Because there's different things, right? And then and so on the mental side, then you have people who struggle with confidence issues, right? People struggle with being able to understand the difference between a game plan and a strategy. What's the difference? And you're talking about kids, right? So you got kids that are dealing with all types of things on the mental game, like how do I make an adjustment with 2 strikes? How do I sit on a specific pitch? Am I sitting on a location? Am I hunting a location? Am I hunting a speed? Am I hunting a spin in that situation? How am I going to be able to zone down and not chase the ball that's up? How do I make adjustments from pitch to pitch? Because if I'm making adjustments from a bat to a bat, I'm way behind. The best hitters are they have the mental ability or the mental capacity to make adjustments pitch to pitch. And we have to teach that. I have to challenge them in the cage so that they can understand the significance, especially if I know I'm building a kid who's going to go with SEC or at a high level. If I know I'm working with a kid that's going to be a high draft pick or whatever, like that kid has to understand that your physical, yes, I know your exit velocity is 75 miles an hour. I know that your bat speed is 69 miles an hour. I get it. But that doesn't mean you can hit, though. So there's swinging.
Right.
And then there's hitting. And I feel like swinging is like, I feel like anybody can do that. Anybody can learn how to do that. But being able to hit is more of a deeper conversation. It's more thoughtful. It's more intra perspective. There's an intra perspective that a player has to be able to have in terms of self-evaluation. Mental game is being self-aware. Knowing what I'm capable of is number one. Number two, knowing when I get away from that. And three, knowing how to get back to it. Those are things that separate the elite from the non-elite.
Well, and there has to be a certain amount of faith in yourself as well, doesn't there?
Most people are not willing to bet on themselves. And they walk through life flat-footed or on their heels instead of like ready to go forward. Most people are flat-footed. And a lot of that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, isn't that more true? I mean, have you found that to be more true for females? I mean, I've always heard that females, are like a guy is more willing to believe the good stuff you say about him, and the females a lot of times are more willing to believe the bad stuff that people are saying about them.
It's part of the culture of the sport that they play, though. Because I would say that that's true in women's softball. It is not true in women's basketball. I think the culture of the sport allows room for women to be more of a boss on the court or field or not. Does the sport empower young women? Our country doesn't even empower young women.
Right.
So all they're doing is seeing what they can't do, what they shouldn't do, how they should be, how they're not good enough, pretty enough, skinny enough, like that. Right. And man, for us, it's different. So I take pride in being able to like get a young lady in the cage and be like, no, you're a power hitter. And I say it. And they can't even say it. I need you to say you're a power hitter. You're struggling saying it out loud. I mean, that's a problem sometimes for me. And I'm like, okay, first of all, we got to get you to believe it, because I know how good you can be. But it starts with, can I get you
yeah.
to believe it? Because, and a lot of girls will say, well, I don't want to be that girl. What do you mean that girl? And it comes down to FOPO, though. Fear of other people's opinions.
Oh, okay.
Which is the number one problem for all athletes across the world. The number one problem that athletes deal with across the world, I'm talking the elite of the elite, is FOPO, the fear of other people's opinions.
Yeah, and then certainly in our sport, in the bat and ball sport, which is built on failure, you don't have to do a whole lot to be a success in it, because it's primarily a failure-built type of sport. So that's going to, I would imagine, impact them even more, is to say, okay, yeah, I thought badly about myself and then it came true, not realizing that, you hit 3 out of 10 balls, or, get a hit on 3 out of 10 at bats, you're an all-star.
And that's just hitting. What about running the bases?
Right.
If I'm working with a group of girls, there's 20 of them. Okay, who's fast? And all the girls look at the fast girl. Why didn't the fast girl raise her hand? Yeah. I just asked you who's fast. Kind of.
Yeah.
And she was bashful to say, yes, I'm fast. I believe that I'm fast. The same way that if you watch a basketball game, yes, I can shoot. Give me the ball. I can shoot. Well, you're fast. Say it. Own it. It's okay. Or like yesterday, not yesterday, what's that? Sunday, I'm at the field working with some infielders. I'm like, do you have a good arm? She's like, yeah, I have a good arm. Then throw it hard.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Like, you have to empower them sometimes and give them permission to be great. Give them permission to know that they're great, and give them permission to be aggressive and make some mistakes and take some risks. That's a big part of the mental game too. Risk averse or risk tolerant.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to take risks?
Yeah, all that comes back to them building some confidence too, right? Like leaving that your lesson or your time spent with those hitters that you're working with or pitchers that we're working with, when they're leaving that lesson, they should walk out of there feeling like they could just rule the world, right? Like, man,
that's my job.
That was a great lesson. Yeah, 100%. Like I always say, like, you know what, you're gonna challenge them, and there's gonna be some failure during that lesson that we're working with these kids. But at the end of this thing here, when you leave here, you're gonna accomplish what we meant to accomplish, and you're gonna feel great about that when you walk out of my door, because that's what it is. I want you to carry that over to the field when you step in that circle or you step in that batter's box. So I think that's huge too, is trying to build the confidence of these players, because like you said, Rob, a lot of them don't have that confidence, and it is this sport too, and that goes back to a little bit of how they're kind of coached, if you know what I mean. You've got some coaches out there that are just yelling and screaming and hollering, and because a kid makes an error, and you're like, well, it's not like the kid woke up today and said, let me make 3 errors at shortstop today. They're giving us our best here, so instead of hammering them down, maybe we need to have a conversation and pick them up a little bit. So I mean, all that confidence is huge in the mental game of what you're talking about. So that's all great stuff.
Yeah, I think when I go into a cage with an 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old, especially those ages, and coaches out there, you have to prioritize confidence over everything else.
And development, right? Like confidence and development.
I mean, both, they go hand to hand, because you're developing the mind too. You're developing the mindset. So the mindset is also has to be developed. Not just talent, not just physical talent, because mindset is a skill, mental skills.
Yeah.
That's still a skill. So if an 8-year-old swings and misses, I'm like, yes, that's a good miss. And she's looking at me like, but I missed. And I'm like, no, that's a great miss, because you swung fast. Let's go, do it again. Boom. Yeah, there we go. Because if I have a different posture on the miss, she thinks that the missing is failure.
Right.
No, we learn from it. Now swing a little sooner.
Yep.
So you have the power and the influence as a coach over an 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old, and what you say to help them understand what failure recovery should sound like in their own head. But most kids don't understand failure recovery because their thoughts come from someone else. Mm-hmm. They don't have their own thoughts.
Right.
We teach them how to think. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things when I work with hitters, especially, early on with it, when they're just learning the swing, what I will tell them is, I would rather see you miss 100 balls in the cage right now with the swing we're trying to develop than just take the bat to the ball and make contact. So one of those is going to take you where you want to go. The other one's going to limit you on what you're going to be able to do.
And that's difficult sometimes to get a young player to understand. I'm like, listen, the first 50, if you miss the first 50 and you do it, we're trying to get some good programming in, right? We're trying to get some better movement programming.
Right.
So miss the first 50. I promise you 51 to 60 will be better. And then 61 to 70 will be even better. But you have to be willing to miss the first 50. And most kids are embarrassed about looking bad on the first 50. I need you to miss the first 50. It's important that you miss the first 50. You have to miss the first 50.
Right.
That's our job when we're in there with these young girls and young kids. Our job is to give them a sense of understanding how we go about the ups and the downs and the way the game takes us.
Yeah, and so I think that really kind of takes us to one of the questions that I had, which was, just tell us a little bit about complete games. So you've given us sort of a general idea of your philosophy and all that. I mean, what's different about your business, or what's unique about what you do?
So personally, and I do this, the human that I am, I do this every year. I reflect on what I did last year, and I try to figure out, okay, what am I going to do differently next year? What are some of the things that I'm going to change? What are some of the things that I need to update? And a lot of times, I feel like I have a gift for like knowing what my students need, and everything is based on what my students need, because this is what I'm seeing. This is what my students are dealing with. This is what they need. This is what I have to teach. I rarely look at, listen to, or have let other things outside of myself influence me. I'm very, very particular about what I allow to influence my thoughts and things. And I realized that next year I'll be teaching something probably different than what I'm doing this year. And what I'm doing this year is probably definitely different than what I did last year. So I'm always growing. I'm always in beta. I'm never finished. It's Rob Cruz beta. It's complete game beta. Always. That's one. Two, I've always been able to be 2 or 3 steps out front of what the game is doing. So if everybody's talking about that, yeah, I was doing that 5 years ago. Like I pride myself in that. I pride myself in being able to reach out and try different things and being open-minded. And I came up with the complete game name because it was the title of my first book, and it represents something. It represents me breaking away from the box. Like there was a box that I was in prior to 2006 and 2007. In every aspect of my life, I was in a box. And the book represented something for me. It represented the book Complete Game, the emotional dynamics of in-game focus, is what I named the company because it was my first book, and it represented my own personal transformation from step out and believe in yourself and go do something that you don't even think you can do. And when I got out of the franchise agreement that I had with Frozen Rope Training Centers, and we had 2 facilities, and we had 1 facility, and then some of my business partners wanted to move the building, and there was a lot of things going on, and I kind of broke out of it. It was time for me to like move on and do something different, and it was scary because I'm like, am I going to be able to do this on my own? Can I do it? Can I support my family this way? Can I not? And that was a defining moment for me personally. But it's the same thing that I ask of my kids.
Yeah, right.
Like I ask that of them too. So if I can't do it, who am I to tell them that they need to break out of their own comfort zones? So that was important. So the name represents that for me, Complete Game, and it's just me. I have some help in certain areas where I need help. I ask. Like I have an appointment today with my intellectual property attorney because I have questions. So she's going to help me get some questions answered. So we always going to, because I'm a coach, people look to me for help. So sometimes I need help. I got to be able to go to someone else also and get that help.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So if we can a little bit, I want to get into it. I want to get into a little bit about some hitting mechanics with you. I know this is what you're waiting for here. So digging in. So, explain to us and the listeners here a little bit about your hitting philosophy. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. You've got the launch angle people saying, hey, stay back coiled the whole time, stay rearward, stay coiled in the hip, or you snapping it, you swinging down, chopping wood. Where are you sitting in that debate, and what's a little bit of your philosophy and the mechanics that you're teaching to some of the kids in your cages?
So it's crazy that you asked that, because when you asked it, I immediately went back to the old debate, linear versus rotational.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember that.
And people used to always want to ask me, was I linear or was I rotational? And I used to be like, what? What are you talking about? Like, first of all, I got to get in the cage and see what that kid's capable of doing. What's going to work for them? And back then, we didn't have a lot of technology that can give us an answer, a definitive answer. So we had to guess. We did a lot of guesswork. Hey, did that work? Is that working out? Is that not working out? But the more you do this, the less and less you have to pick a side. I think when you're early in your coaching career, you kind of pick a side because it's safe. You know it every day. But when you get to a certain level of teaching, you have to understand multiple ways to teach, because players have multiple ways in which they need to move. And I learned that a long time ago, that once I can identify how a player needs to move, then I can help them to get better at moving in that way. And there's certain things that are rules for me. Like if your exit velo is 57, then you can't hit a whole lot of fly balls because they're not going to make it out of the ballpark. So when we're in the cage, we're aiming for low line drive. Now, if your exit velo is in the 70s, high 70s, we can hit the ball a little bit higher because you can. So I'm not in a box. I haven't really boxed myself in to saying that this is the way you got to do it. This is the way you got to do it. But when a kid comes in that I've never worked with before, and they do something that and this is hard for coaches. It's hard for me. It's hard for coaches to be able to look at someone's swing, and if how they move does not agree with what you think it should be, you have a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a hard thing to be able to say, I hate that you do that, but you're so freaking good at it. You need to keep doing that, and we're going to work within what you're doing because you're good at doing that, even though I freaking can't stand it. You understand? It doesn't even align with my beliefs. So for me, it can't be about me. It has to be about the kid. It has to be about the player. If I'm making it about me, then what am I doing?
Right.
It can't look a certain way. Are you hitting? Is your exit velo harder that way, or is your exit velo less velocity that way? Are you a better hitter with a 34-inch bat, or you're a better hitter with a 33-inch bat? Like, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. The only way to know is to test it. So that's my answer. I don't think I would ever pick a side because those are all opinions. And my mom told me there's a whole lot of ways to fry chicken.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a whole lot of ways to fry chicken, and it's only wrong if it's wrong for that player, and it's only right if it's right for that player. And that's why hitting coaching is an ongoing thing. You have to get to know hitters, and they change. Their bodies change. The levels that they play at change. You got to keep. It's an ongoing mentoring. We're trying this. Does that work for you? You know, and think something can be true, and I think that's where we get caught up. Because people want to be right.
Yeah.
And you are right, coach. Congratulations. You're right. But she can't hit that way.
Yeah.
Like, she can't hit that. So now you're right. We boosted your ego. You're right. Because that's biomechanically sound. It's biomechanically efficient. And I think we're getting too caught up into that when these kids got to be able to put a bat on the ball and hit a ball hard out front. Yep. And sometimes, most of the time, they're going to get there in a way that doesn't line up with our own individual swing bias.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You have to let them be who they are.
That's where I'm at.
Yep. I mean, we find the same thing when we talk about pitching too, is that, for some of the kids, they're just not going to move a certain way. And even though we don't like it, or they don't throw a pitch the way that we would prefer it, but if it works for them, let them do it. At least let them do it until it doesn't work anymore. At that point, then you have a reason to change it.
Absolutely.
So I know that you're a fan of 4D motion and getting metrics like that. Have there been any revelations along the way where you had say one swing thought and then you measured with 4D motion and you came out with a different idea, or has it more reinforced kind of what you were thinking?
So I'm an early adopter kind of guy. Like, I stood online to get the first iPhone. Everybody laughed at me because they all had BlackBerries with PIN numbers. You're going to lose your PIN number on your BlackBerry. You can't get an iPhone. That's stupid. It's got music on the phone. There's no button. That's dumb. And I'm the guy who's going to be the first one to buy it, the first one to be online. Like, I'm that guy, right? So when it comes to tech, I'm the same way. I'm an early adopter. I'm gonna try things out and see what's going on because I'm an information nerd. I'm an analytics nerd. The nerd in me gravitates towards the tech because I believe in the measurable, because we need to be able to objectively and definitively know that we know that we know that we know. There's an old saying, men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
Yeah. And
some things we can't detect with the eye. Some things we can't even detect with video.
Yeah.
Like, we need to be able to know, like, okay, how fast and how many degrees did this hips actually turn? what was the actual speed of the hips? And we need to put a number on it to know what works for that player or that type of player. And the more we do it, the better we get. So what I found out with working with 4D Motion, and I have a great relationship with the people over at 4D Motion. Shout out to Chan and all the guys over there. And we've been on calls. I mean, I've seen the data from the MLB draft, like they do the draft data for the draftees and stuff. And so I've seen what pro hitters on the baseball side need to look like. I've tested enough players that are swinging the bat 65 mile an hour plus in softball to kind of know what they all have in common. So what I did was, because I've tested so many athletes with 3D motion capture, and for those who don't know, 3D motion capture with 4D motion is when you use accelerometers to measure what the body's doing. So they could put an accelerometer / sensor on the chest, on the hip or pelvis, and they could do one on the lead arm or whatever, and it gives us a real good idea of what's happening, to what degree that thing is happening, and in what sequence is that thing happening. And then you can kind of see what, when you add variability to it, outside pitches for hitters, inside pitches that they pull for hitters, pitchers, different pitches, or is the body changing so much? And you can do overlays, just really cool stuff if you can dig into it. It allows us to be able to know what we could never know with the naked eye or video. You could never know this information. And now currently they're doing 3D motion capture with sensorless, with a lot of cameras and just phone cameras and that with multiple cameras, which is kind of cool that we're going in that direction. But what I would say is I found out that there's about 3 or 4 metrics that if we stick with these 3 or 4, we know that our hitters are moving in probably the most efficient fashion that they can move in. And one of them is going to be spine stability. And for me, that number has to be high 80s to 100, meaning that they keep their spine stable. Perfectly is 100. Less than perfect is below 100. But once you start getting into the 70s, that means that spine is not stable and efficient, and the head's going to be moving, and it's going to be harder for them to get rotational force and create that angular velocity that we need, right? Because the spine has to be that stable thing, right? So we know that from that, right? The second thing we know is, I learned that is you don't have to be biomechanically efficient in terms of the sequence, hips, chest, arms, bat, to be a good hitter. I used to think that you did. So what I did find out was, when you hit your hardest balls, what sequence are you in? Well, then that's the sequence you should be in. Like, I'm not going to try to make you make the technology right. I'm not doing that. So let's measure your hardest hit balls. Let's measure your hardest throws. What sequence are you in when you do that? Oh, great. Then that's your sequence. Stay right there.
Yeah, it's an interesting way of thinking about it.
Because if we take this thing too far, we're just creating robots. No, you just hit a ball 500 feet, but the machine says you're out of sequence. Who the hell cares?
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
What are we doing? What are we doing? So that's where I'm at with it. Like, that's just me spending a lot of time with it, and just me being like smart about it. Like, dude, I'm not going to sit here and take a great player, and I'm not going to be the guy who messed this player up. I'm not going to be the guy that messed her up. One thing I will not do is mess somebody up. Yeah. I will not take you backwards. I'm not doing that. So that's probably the second one. And the third one is, I think kids turn the hips too fast. Not too early. I don't mean early when I say fast. I mean that the hips are turning too hard. Because if you ask 100 kids, where does power come from? 100 kids are going to say it comes from the legs. And there's always going to be a lot of coaches out there that are going to think that we got to turn our legs harder. But the problem is that the legs are not connected to the bat and the barrel. And then when we look at the data of the MLB players, they're actually not turning their hips as fast as the minor league players, which is why they're in the MLB, because they're turning their pelvis in a certain range. So they're either going to be 400 to 500 degrees per second in terms of the speed of the turn or the velocity of the hip turn, and they're controlling it. And then the minor league guys are like 600 degrees per second. I want to turn my hips really hard. That's why you're in the minors and you're never going to get out. You're gonna die in the minors. So that was the third. I mean, there's a few of them that are really important to me. There's a ton of metrics,
right?
But those are the ones, the 4 or 5 that that are important to me. And with my certified coaches, we hone in on those. And to be honest with you guys, like I'm to the point where like softball is 200 feet, guys. Do we really got to do all this? Like it's 200 feet. Every home run is hit off the same pitch. Go look at every home run that was hit last weekend. Where was the pitch? Down the middle. When pitchers stop throwing down the middle, there won't be any home runs. As long as pitchers are throwing down the middle, we'll keep hitting home runs. We don't need 3D motion capture for softball hitting. We don't need it. It's 200 feet. And the pitchers are throwing it down the middle. I know you guys are pitching coaches. You don't want to hear that. But you know they're throwing it down the middle.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're watching the same game I'm watching.
Yeah.
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 Right. And that's actually when I talk to pitching students too. I'll tell them sometimes, they get disappointed if the pitch is here or there. I say, hey, just go watch some college games. Every home run that's hit, that was a pitch that didn't go where it was supposed to go. You don't, it'd be nice if you were perfect, but you're probably not going to be. Those girls are getting their school paid for. They're on TV. They're doing all these other things. They make those mistakes too. So be a little forgiving of yourself and just try to get better.
So, Rob, I want to get in. You mentioned that, Ken and I both teach a lot of pitching. We still do a little hitting here and there, but pitching is more of our realm. We, Ken and I, and the group that we kind of work with often talk a lot about deceleration as a major factor for us in both speed, location, spin. How about in hitting? Deceleration in hitting. Can you tell us how you feel about that? Is it an important thing?
So deceleration is like the brakes on a car. The faster the car, the better the brakes have to be. You can only move as fast as your brake system allows you to. So for me, like I have to know that as a coach. But sometimes I think you can't really teach a 12-year-old kid or even a 14, 15-year-old kid the philosophy of deceleration. You got to be good enough and smart enough and creative enough as a coach to let them feel for decel. So what I've been doing, I've been trying to, and here's the reason why deceleration has to happen. And a lot of people, because people probably out there thinking, well, why would I want to decelerate if I need to be accelerating? Well, you can't accelerate without decelerating. That's the reason why, right? You can't do it. So something has to slow down for the next segment to speed up. So what the hips actually do, let's talk about the hips, because that's where the entire system can break down with the pelvis, or it can be really, really good if we understand like the dynamics of how the pelvic should move. I don't even say the word. I'm getting away from saying certain words because I feel like turning the hips is something that a hitter's going to naturally do anyway. Just like they breathe and their heart has to beat. Your heart's going to beat whether you focus on that or not. Like you don't get to dictate if your heart's going to beat or not consciously. It's the same thing with the hips. Let the hips do their thing, but let's focus on what the upper body does, because that's going to be, first of all, the upper body and the lower body are connected. The pelvis is a part of the lower torso, some would say. And then the upper body is a part of the upper torso, but they still have a connection because they're part of the same thing, right? So if I can get hitters to understand that their belly button doesn't have to face the pitcher, and they're going to get more because that means that the hips stopped earlier so that the relevant part of the swing can speed up when it's time. If I can get them to trust me on that and have enough examples of why that's important and get them to see their results when we do certain things in the cage, and they say, oh. So I explain it like, if we can allow the legs to be anchors and become better anchors, then our upper body can deliver the barrel. Chest, back shoulder, front part of the, lately I've been calling it the rear breastplate. If there was like a breastplate that went from the front of your chest to the back of your chest, of course, over your back shoulder, and we're delivering that to the ball, that's a lot more efficient than if we're like trying to spin the hips and now we can't hit a drop ball, we can't hit a drop curve, we can't hit an outside fastball, we can't hit a changeup, and we can't hit a curveball. That's 5 pitches you can't hit because you're flying off the ball that somebody like told you that it's all about the hips. No, it's all about the bat. What direction is the bat going in? So if we work backwards from that, we get to see how the front shoulder can drive energy. Like here's the number one question that I have to ask myself when we talk about decel, right? I have to ask myself as a coach, when I'm looking at somebody move, I have to ask myself two questions. Where's the energy coming from? And then where's it going? So I'll ask kids, I'll say, hey, you guys ever heard of Isaac Newton? And they're like, yeah, Fig Newtons, I love them. No. No, Sir Isaac Newton, who had a number of theories. But one theory in particular that I'd like to point out is the theory of energy conservation, which says energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred. And I feel like some hitters are trying to create the energy instead of moving it from one place to another place. And if I can get them to understand how the front shoulder, when it counter rotates and drives into the rear leg and drives into the ground, that front shoulder, it's driving that energy into that side. And then the ground kind of gives it back through the legs into the back shoulder. And now we're moving energy in an efficient way to create more speed, more exit velo, higher acceleration rates.
Yes, almost sounds like a pitching lesson right now, Ken. Literally, like I mean, it's like you're awesome, Rob. Those are things like even Ken and I are talking about through pitching, like moving energy, right? Being able to transfer energy into the ball. So all that stuff is fantastic, man. I didn't want to cut you off, but I'm just saying you literally sound like one of Ken and I's pitching lessons.
I mean, but listen, movement is movement. And I'll use pitching examples sometimes when I explain it because I have players that pitch too or used to pitch or something. So look at a pitcher. The pitcher goes down with their chest. What are they doing? They're moving energy into the ground first. When the pitcher goes from here to here and that chest goes down, when they load into that push-off leg or that leg that separates from rubber, all they're doing is moving the energy so that they can get it back. Yep. They're going to get that energy back. And I think most people don't understand that until you show them and you have that conversation. So I try to keep my conversations about it. I try to use it with like examples and we talk about like volleyball servers and water polo players and, and things like that, just so they can kind of, and I have kids that, so that's where I'm at with decel. And it's necessary. It's necessary for a coach to understand it, but I don't think you have to like go crazy trying to explain it, but finding ways to get players to feel it is important. That's important so that they can have their own revelation over time and they understand what they need to feel. And then it's going to make them better.
I want to switch gears here just a little bit. Ken and I teach pitching. You hear this every Women's College World Series. Look at the sharp late break on that ball, right? So for us as pitching coaches, like that's probably part of our, when we're talking tunneling and trying to be deceptive through our pitches that we're teaching our students or college kids, we want that sharp late break. I always tell them like, we want it to appear to be a fastball until it isn't. Right. And so my question to you, Rob, is, how do you help your hitters with dealing with really sharp late break rise balls that just jump at the last second, curveballs that just extremely explode hard? Like what are you teaching to help hitters combat that? And are they making in swing adjustments, or is this just something where where the body is allowing those in swing adjustments to happen? Like what's kind of give us some things that hitters can combat that sharp late break with, and is it an in swing adjustment? Like you said, the one thing you said today I think really is honed with me is if you are making adjustments at bat to at bat, you're already behind. It's a pitch to pitch adjustment, and I love that you said that. So give us a little bit of information on that. How do you deal with that with your hitters?
So first of all, the pitcher controls the variable. And there's so many variables, right? Outside, middle, in, low, out, low, middle, high, out, high, middle, high, in, rise, drop, curve, screw, change, right? There's all these variables. And if you add them up, I think there's like 11 variables. I wrote them all down. There's like 11 different variables. Yeah. And then if you square 11, that means there's 122 different possibilities. That's what that means, right? So that's obviously, can we cover all of them? Probably not. But if I can teach a hitter how to cover 8 of them, if you got 9 spots in the strike zone and not like a tic-tac-toe board, and I got hitters that can cover 6, 7 of them, that's a good hitter. But a lot of the hitters, because the pitcher controls the variable, the hitter has to have what I like to call adjustability in their swing. So it doesn't even come down to making necessarily an adjustment mechanically necessarily, because my swing should have that built in, because I have what we call adjustability. And the adjustability comes from the forward bend in the hitter and the ability to delay hands and chest for as long as possible. So how I train it is I train it externally, because you can't really get a kid to not push. Hitters that push their hands forward is such a common thing. It's such a difficult thing to teach and to learn. But so pitchers that have late break movement are more effective, because most kids push. Most kids go hands to the ball. They don't go back shoulder to the ball, or they don't understand hand and chest delay. Most of them don't. So if I can get the hitters to be able to do that, then I'm in shape. So the best way that I found that I do that, I designed a short bat, not a one-hand trainer, but it's a bat that's short. It's 20. I make them. I actually make them. They're part of my my Swing Dynamics bat speed program. So I make a 29-inch, a 27-inch, and a 25-inch, depending upon the age and the strength level of the player. So the popular one is the 27-inch, and it's weighted, so it's really heavy. It's made of pro maple, so we have better like wood sweet spot feel, and we can hit real balls with it. And if you can hit with a short bat, that means that you're allowing the ball to get a little bit deeper and still hitting it out front. And that's without even thinking, because the kid's going to make an automatic natural adjustment, because the shorter the bat, the deeper I have to hit it. The longer the bat, the more out front I have to hit it. I have to. I'll say this. Let me go back. The shorter the bat, the longer I have to wait, or the more I have to delay. The longer the bat, the more I can't delay. So in contrast to that, I also designed a 40-inch bat. It kind of goes with it. It's a 40-inch long bat. It helps kids sequence. And speaking of that, if you watch a lot of pitchers, if you go watch a pitcher warm up, a big league pitcher, a lot of big league pitchers keep an overload bat in their bag, and they work on their sequencing by swinging that long bat. And I didn't realize this. I was hanging out with my boy Brandon White. Shout out to him. He's with the Detroit Tigers. They brought him up to the big leagues last year. I hang out with him. I do 40 motion with him. He puts on 40 motion. I give him his metrics. Pulls out a weighted bat out of his bag. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Yeah, it just helps me get my sequencing together." And he's literally like on his knees swinging a weighted bat, and it's because you can't swing it unless you move properly, right? So going back to the adjustment, the adjustability. So the forward bend is one, and the short bat's another one. And then the other thing I'll do is I'll have the kids play a game of, in front toss, how deep can you let a ball get without getting beat? How deep can I let this ball get without getting beat? And they'll play a game with themselves. How deep can I let it get without getting beat? Because I don't want you to commit early. So the kids that have the better eyes will normally commit early because they saw it so early. I'm like, nah, don't get fooled, because those pitchers are getting better at making it break later. So the better a hitter is at hitting the ball deep and out front at the same time, the higher level of softball they can play. Because the higher level of softball pitchers can make that ball break later. And the hitters that can wait longer can hit at that level. And if you can't wait longer, you can't hit at that level. And if you can't make a ball break deeper or later, you can't pitch at that level.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's just what it is. That is a key factor. You have to be able to delay hands and chest And the better you are at it is going to determine how high up you can go.
So just a few more questions today, Rob. We're not going to keep you much longer, man. You've given us a ton of time today. We totally appreciate it. I have one more, and I think Ken might have one too. For me, I just want to add on to that. You talked about the variability through those swings. Mm-hmm. I've heard this. We've been around a long time. All of us here, we've heard these wonderful things for many decades. You've heard like, hey, move to the front of the box, move to the back of the box to beat the break, or move up to beat for slower pitchers. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
So if you move up in the box for a slow pitcher, you're still going to be out front. That's not going to change anything. I believe, again, especially for those late break pitchers, I believe that it's very difficult for a pitcher, and I don't even believe it, I know it. It's very difficult for a pitcher. Let's use the drop ball, for example. If I'm back of the box on a drop ball pitcher, it's hard for her to make that drop ball break deeper. But if I'm up in the box, she can make it break better if I'm up in the box. Mm-hmm. So when people tell their hitters to move up in the box and catch it before it breaks, so she's that stupid that she's not going to make it break earlier when you move up. I don't understand that logic. So what we do, if she has a good drop ball, and we want to be aggressive on the drop ball, we're middle of the box. If she has a good drop ball and we want to be patient on the drop ball, we're back of the box. And when she has to bring it up to get it deeper, because when the batter moves to the back of the box, you also move the catcher back.
Right.
So now she has to throw her drop ball higher. She won't, because she probably hasn't trained that way before. Pitchers should throw their drop ball with the catcher in different places, but they don't in their bullpens. They don't, because they don't anticipate hitters making adjustments that way. So as soon as we move back, her drop ball's a ball. We don't chase. It's a ball. We don't chase. It's a ball. We don't chase. And then she has to throw something else. And that's when it's over for her. Because she's only beating us with one pitch. She's falling behind in the count. Now she got 2-0 on two drop balls in the dirt. Now she got to come back up. So it's a great strategy for us. And then there's one more thing I was going to say. People are missing two ways on the drop ball. Hitters are missing over it, and they're early. So if all the ways you miss, over, early, around, under, early, around, up, on top of, like late, early, we're missing twice. We're missing two ways. We're missing because we're early on it, and we're missing because we're on top or over it when we miss.
Yep.
Yeah. So those are just the facts that we start analyzing with the situation. But like we're back at the box on drop ball. We're back at the box on rise ball. Get more time. We leave it up. I don't understand moving up. I don't understand moving up in the box. I don't understand who made that up.
It's one of those things that probably made sense at the time. It seemed like a good idea, but in actual practice, it doesn't work so well.
It doesn't. But it's still a thing now.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Everybody's still saying, move up in the box, catch it before it breaks. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know I train my pitchers, especially in drop balls. I do that with the catchers. I'll have them move up, move back, just kind of say, all right, you just have to play this game. Is that they want to move up, make it drop earlier. They want to move back, make it drop later. Just a cat and mouse game. You just don't let them make them hit the pitch. Don't let them get away with something like that. Make them hit the pitch wherever you want to throw it. Mm-hmm. So I did want to ask one more thing, and that is something I actually heard you say on a podcast with Rick Pauley, where you were talking about that you said you like to work with players who aren't maybe the most athletic or the most talented. You seem to get more satisfaction out of that. And I'm just wondering, what is it about that is so attractive to you?
I love the underdog.
Yeah.
I love it when a kid comes in who wants it. She shows up every week because she got something she's got to prove because people doubted her.
Yeah.
Like let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. And then when she goes out there and she's all of a sudden she's different and people are like, oh, wow, I can't believe this is her. She just couldn't hit a ball at the side of a barn last fall. Now this spring she's crushing. Like, it's a good feeling for me to see the transformation that somebody can have, both mentally and physically. I mean, it's easy to work with good hitters. I mean, a good hitter can come in. I can get you better. I can get you ready for the next level. You know what's hard? Working with people who can't hit. Give me a girl who can't hit. I promise you she will hit. If she shows up, I promise you she'll hit.
Yeah.
I'm betting on me, but you got to show up though.
Right. You have to put in the work.
Because some people are like, so are you good though, or are you just hitting with all good hitters? They were already good when they got there. But if you're good, you're transformative. People are having a transformative experience if you're really good at it.
Yeah. You know, I mean, that's some of my favorite stories is when I've taken a kid and I hear, people are saying, oh, well, sure, of course, she's a natural athlete. She's a natural this, no wonder she's hitting like that or pitching like that. And I'll be like, wow, you didn't see her when she first came to me and she was sitting on the bench and nobody would give her an opportunity because she couldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. I think that kid worked hard.
Yeah. To add on that too, I think some of my favorite ones are like, hey, this kid's been with me since 10. Here she is going Division I college, pitching and hitting. It's like, we've been at this for almost a decade, and those are awesome because again, nobody knew what that kid was going to be when they walked in the door. And I think that's huge. Is that's a part of it too. I know all three of us have had those kinds of things. We've had kids for families for 8 years, 6 years, and even through college at sometimes too. So Rob, just one more thing, if you can, where can people get more information about you, about your business, about the stuff online, maybe having you come in for a hitting clinic? Where can people find you on the socials and how can people get a hold of you?
So a lot of people reach out to me on social media, which is perfectly fine. On Twitter, I'm at Complete Game. On IG, I'm at Complete Game. On Facebook, same thing, Complete Game. And on TikTok, it's Rob_Cruz. I spell Cruz, CREWS. And I also have a branded app in the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. And you look up the app, it's Complete Game Hitiverse. It's a free app, and there's a whole lot of free resources. I'm currently building out an educational platform where I'm teaching like people who teach young kids how to introduce them into the mental game. I got a whole workbook I'm coming out with really soon for young kids, like from age 7 up, like how to introduce kids to the mental game and how to develop mindset. I think that's important. So we're launching that, and I think that's going to be. I like where it's going. And then I have my certification that I've been working on really hard. We have international certified coaches all over. It's an ongoing masterclass situation. So twice a month, we jump on a Zoom call with my certified coaches, and we make sure that they are current because things change. This thing changes quick.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
So I try to keep in touch with them, and we keep in touch with each other. We share our resources. It's a really great community of real smart students of the game, and I'm excited about that too.
Terrific. Well, good. I highly recommend everybody try to check all of that out. Make sure you see what he's doing. I've listened to several of the podcasts and continue to listen to more, getting caught up. And there's lots of great information on there. Certainly on the website, I have the app itself, and been looking through that as well. So it's all great stuff, and a lot of that is out there. It's free. And you can, the stuff that isn't free, by the time you've gotten through the free stuff, I'm sure you'll be wanting to get more from Rob.
Yeah. I also got a website. Sorry, I didn't even say my website. Website is complete.game. Complete.game. That's the website.
All right. Well, Rob Cruz, thank you so much for joining us today. On behalf of Jay and myself, we really appreciate all the time you gave us. We took a little bit more of your time than we'd planned on, but it was such great information. It was hard to know where to stop. We hope to have you back again. We certainly have more questions for you. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, everyone, thank you for listening and for joining us. We hope that you will continue to do so. If you like what you heard, please be sure to like and share, send it off to your friends on the Apple Store. Give us a nice review and continue to get out there and play the game. So thanks from the Coach's Mouth podcast. We say thank you, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Thank you.